actually. I attended a conference maybe a few years later. Jay Baer was one of the speakers. He's a big thought leader in the customer experience space. And one of the things he shared from stage was no response is a response. And that has stuck with me for years. So if you are asking for feedback as a leader on a project, on a campaign, whatever the case is, and you get that feedback from your team, from your customers, not responding to it sends a very strong signal, true or not, that you don't care. And so it is possible that the feedback given is just not actionable right now. Perhaps it wasn't detailed enough. Perhaps it's not relevant to the goals. But by not reciprocating that communication and saying, here's why we can't move on these things right now. Here's why this is not a priority. Here's why this is not something that we're able to, allocate funds or energy to because XYZ. We give them visibility into what else is, the kind of more aligned with the direction that we're going. Then they start to feel part of, oh, I see, as opposed to, hey, I took this time, I gave you the feedback, you didn't want it. And I think this is especially pertinent when it comes to leadership. When we ask our team, hey, can you give me some feedback? We get it. We say, okay, thanks. If we're not going to address the blind spots that they've pointed out to us, or we're not going to ask them to elaborate and open that door for that two-way communication, I think it's not only insight lost that you can potentially act upon as a leader, but it kind of shuts down the conversation with your team, and it sends a signal that this wasn't important enough for me to work on, or at the very least communicate why it's not something I can work on right now. And I think over the last several years, that second piece of not just opening the door for communication, but for creating the dialogue, it's to, the details of the feedback has been especially helpful.
Yeah. Okay, leaders, all of you out there, are you hearing this? This is important. This is gold. Don't lose this, because it's true. And as someone who's had suggestions or thoughts or whatever just kind of ignored, I don't offer suggestions again. So,
exactly.
Why should I bother? If nobody else cares, why should I care?
Exactly.
And you're modeling that from the top, whether they like to think about it this way or not. As a leader, you are always on stage because someone is always watching.
Right.
Always. So no response is a response. And the message is loud and clear, even if the actual words aren't.
Exactly. And I think where I struggled with this, at least early in my career, was ego. You get feedback of, hey, that didn't land as well as you thought it was, or this wasn't, as clear as you thought it was, or this actually hurt my feelings, that I didn't feel seen in this situation, or well led. The vision wasn't clear enough. It's not always good feedback to receive. And especially in the early days where you feel, at least I felt like I had something to prove. And I really wanted to continue to climb the corporate ladder, and I wanted to show that we were doing a good job. It's one thing to say I'm open to feedback, but then you get the constructive criticism and you're like, did I really want that? Now you kind of open Pandora's box a little bit. And so I think the caveat that I would add is not just being open to receiving it, but being prepared to act on it.
Would you say maybe there's a vulnerability component there?
Absolutely. And I don't think that this came easily for me, not only being vulnerable, but receiving that kind of feedback. I always joke, I'm open to feedback, but let me make sure it's positive.
Yes.
I think it was true, especially early on in my career. And it does require a great degree of vulnerability to put your ego aside and be open to turning over some stones and seeing what's under there that needs to be addressed, what's under there that I can work on. And I don't think that asking for that feedback without initially building the trust with your team will be as effective as it can. And so I think coming back to empathy and connection, like fostering that kind of culture and environment makes the feedback even more meaningful, but also help in the event your ego does get in the way, to help kind of keep it in its place as you start to evolve, because that's really what it was. And I think there was some shedding of old beliefs and assumptions of who I ought to be as a leader that I needed to put down.
Yeah.
And the trust and communication and connection with my team helped me do that.
Plus, I would think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but through that trust and communication, instead of feeling attacked, you would feel supported. My team is giving me this feedback, but it's in a supportive way. And now we can fix it as opposed to defend and, put up the barriers.
Right. And I think, one of the things I would say in more recent years that I learned in terms of just being open to feedback and being a better leader, I had such a resistance delivering negative news. So I have no problem saying as a team, there's a performance issue or we need to fix this and work towards it. But to tell someone that, their decisions or their actions kind of resulted in us collectively dropping the ball, I had a tendency to sugarcoat that a little bit. And as a result, back to your point of it kind of starts from the top and the way we show up informs kind of our expectations or how our team perceives the way they ought to show up. Yeah. That meant I was getting sugar-coated feedback. Because if I had difficulty delivering constructive criticism in a way that was straight to the point and helpful and very clearly understood what the issue is and how to fix it, I was not getting that feedback. And so even though I had created a culture, an environment of feedback, it was the candy-coated version. And so we were all kind of hovering on our true potential, but not really fully crossing that threshold because I wasn't modeling how to have those hard conversations. So that was something I think, a later discovery that has further unlocked my ability to truly empathize, communicate, and connect.
Yeah. Brene Brown says that clarity is kindness. And that sticks with me because it really is. Because I'm that person too. I will try to sugarcoat things. And it's like, but I'm not being clear. I'm not allowing this person to reach their full potential because I'm assuming they're going to react to this the way I think I might. And number one, there's no guarantee I would. But number two, maybe they're ready for growth. Maybe I'm holding them back.
Right. And that perspective changes everything.